This video is sponsored by Sakurako. Alright, so we got the 244 spoilers, and this chapter is amazing. We're actually cutting away from the previous chapter where we saw Kotsu cut off Kenjaku's head, and we're finally coming back to Yuji and Higuruma taking on Sukuna after he had killed Kashimo and Gojo. But before they're able to do anything, we're cutting to another flashback to the sorcerers having a meeting to finalize their plans. It's about Kenjaku, and they plan to make him let his guard down and finish off with Yuta, but they will proceed with this only if Gojo loses, and Yuta is expected to come back right away after dealing with Kenjaku. So yeah, like we talked about in the previous chapter, this was all planned in the time skip, a lot of information that we weren't privy to, but now we're finding out some things. I'm sure there's still some things that we need to find out about this, but this might confirm that Gojo is like dead. But again, there is still a chance he can come back because the way that they're so casually saying only if Gojo loses, it's like they're so comfortable with it, you know? And we also didn't see anybody really mourn him or react to him. I know they didn't really have much time for it, but it still makes me, I don't know, kind of suspicious about it. But as for it saying Yuta coming back right away after dealing with Kenjaku, technically he is facing him, or at least Takaba is fighting Kenjaku while the sequence in this chapter is happening, I guess. So maybe during the big event that happens at the end of this chapter or after it resolves, we'll see what happens with Akotsu and Kenjaku. About facing Sukuna, Kusakabe says that they need to choose who's going to fight and who wouldn't. Kashimo lashes at them saying it's an all-out war, so everyone should jump in. And I agree with Kashimo here, but I don't know, maybe Sukuna has some kind of contingency for that. Kusakabe says that Miwa can't fight due to a binding vow she made in Shibuya that she'll never swing her sword. She put everything in that one shot against Kenjaku. Due to this, she can't wield the katana anymore. So yeah, she did make that binding vow back in Shibuya, I guess, and it was all for naught. This is really not helping all of the accusations against Gege for terribly writing female characters in this series, but I'm sure he has some kind of grand purpose for Miwa. I want to see her try to swing a katana anyway and just break the binding vow and see what happens, because we still don't know what happens if you just break a binding vow, you know? Kamo is in the meeting too. He apologizes and says that he can't partake in the mission because he can't be of any help and he wants to watch over his family as much as possible, so he's taking his family and leaving the country. Yuji tried to console Kamo because he said he's not of much help, and he's like, I can learn a lot of things from Senpai, so you're helping me a lot, because Choso sucks at teaching. And Choso has a dumbfounded face, and Kamo's like, I see. So I guess this is just Gege wrapping up Kamo's story here. I mean, we saw what his motivation and goal was during the fight that he teamed up with Maki to take on Curse Naoya. And to be honest, he didn't really do much in that fight. So I was hoping that he'd have greater send-off than this. And also, how's he getting out of the culling game? Are they like spending points to have him leave, or is he kind of do it afterwards? Not really sure. I don't think it really matters. But yeah, I guess Kamo's gone now. I don't know. Maybe he'll come back later. Who knows? Higuruma says that he'll go after Kashimo, and he'll use his curse technique to confiscate Sukuna's curse technique, and he adds that if he gives Sukuna the death penalty, then he can fight using Executioner's sword. And Kashimo says, do you think I'll really lose? I'm getting mad. And then Akari's like, it's just an assumption. We appreciate that you gave up your spot for Gojo. Kashimo's like, I'm not satisfied yet. So yeah, obviously we know Kashimo goes on to get essentially low diffed by Sukuna, right? So yeah, another thing that was all for naught. But unlike Gojo, Kashimo got like the full Sukuna death treatment with like him talking to him for a brief moment before he, I don't know, passes on. Sukuna didn't really have that moment with Gojo, interestingly enough. Kusakabe asks if Higuruma can confiscate and lay the death penalty on Sukuna for sure. Yuji says it depends on which charge Judge Man will use, which Higuruma can't use. Yuji says that Sukuna has switched 3 times so far and has killed many people whenever he did switch. And Higuruma summarizes Sukuna's wrongdoing so far. In Itadori's high school, Sukuna harmed Itadori, took over his body, attempted murder on Gojo. And then in the juvenile home, he murdered Itadori. This might be attempted murder because he came back to life. Attempted murder on Megumi. And then in Shibuya, he murdered 2 curse user high school girls. Attempted murder on several citizens. Murdered a curse user with a side tail. And committed arson. The arson is when he fired off the arrow against Maharaga. Higuruma says that after taking over Megumi's body, Sukuna should be charged with harming Megumi, complete murder, stealing a dead body. All of these depends on the situation Megumi is in. But Higuruma says questioning Sukuna's crime on the harm his fingers has caused is hard. Higuruma's summary on sentencing price: 1 murder, serving prison for 10 to 15 years. 2 murders, life sentence or death penalty. 3 murders or more, the death penalty. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Sakurako. Sakurako is a monthly authentic Japanese snack subscription box. Sakurako is also supporting local Japanese snack makers because each box comes with 20 traditional, authentic, and artisan Japanese snacks, including Japanese tea and a special Japanese tableware. It also comes with this awesome booklet that gives you information on all of the snacks in the box, as well as information about Japan and its culture. This month's box is Holidays in Hokkaido. Discover the beauty of winter in Hokkaido, the northern part of Japan. When snow covers everything, Hokkaido becomes a peaceful and inviting place. Celebrate the winter season through authentic Japanese snacks curated by Sakurako's team, like milk and chocolate cookie, milk mochi, Hokkaido butter cookie. All pair excellently with matcha genmaicha tea. And this month's tableware is indigo yuzen dish. So as they said, the tea pairs with everything in the box, so we always have to try it. And this matcha genmaicha tea is fantastic. It has this nice savory brown rice type of flavor to it, along with this mellow matcha. I also tried the camembert cheese arare, and this is easily one of the best things I've ever had from Sakurako. I love these things so much. The camembert cream cheese goes so well with the arare. I wish I had a case of these things. I also tried the milk and chocolate cookie, and this is also incredible. Like, it has a nice sweet cookie crispy texture, but then it has that thin creamy layer of white chocolate. So guys, if you're looking for a fantastic holiday gift this season for you or your loved ones, pick up a Sakurako box, and I guarantee that they will love it. And of course, you can get that through the link in my description, but I'll also sweeten the deal because if you use code Zhoniin, you're gonna get $5 off of your first box. Thanks, guys. So this is pretty interesting, right? And I've been waiting to see this since we saw Deadly Sentencing. I think actually in my review, I talk about if this was used on Sukuna like 2 years ago. And I'll go more into that, but Judge Man, or at least it was said, the Shikigami that comes with Deadly Sentencing, should already know everything that Sukuna has done because it apparently can like read the memories of everybody in the domain. Kusakabe says that if it's a normal judgment, then adding up all of the crimes Sukuna committed, he will get the death penalty for sure. But Higuruma's curse technique, the Judge Man picks up on one crime at a time and charges penalty one at a time. Then they talk more about the crimes that could be charged and the nuances to it. I'm not going to go over it in these spoilers, but I will go over it in the full chapter review that I will definitely release whenever the chapters drop, so subscribe for that if you haven't already, guys. Thank you. Yuji and Higuruma talk about whether Sukuna's crimes from 1,000 years ago would be charged or not. Higuruma says that the modern law might not work on pre-reincarnated Sukuna. Judge Man is a Shikigami equipped to his curse technique, so if Higuruma thinks it's impossible, Judge Man probably will think the same. So this is what I was wondering, because like I said, Judge Man, I guess, technically scans the memories of the people or just scans their mind in the domain. So naturally, he would know, 1,000 years of what Sukuna has done, or at least back to 1,000 years. But I guess even in Japanese law, there's got to be some kind of statute of limitation, right? And I think 1,000 years is more than enough. But who knows? Maybe Judge Man doesn't play by those rules. But maybe he does, because Higuruma thinks it's impossible. But he also says that he doesn't know which curse technique of Sukuna will be confiscated. 10 Shadows or Mizushi. Shrine. Yuji suddenly says that there might be a way which will guarantee Sukuna a death sentence. So that's fascinating. He just called Sukuna's curse technique Shrine. We've heard it mentioned before by, I think, Yorozu, right? But it's still kind of a contentious subject, but I think this is more or less confirming that Sukuna's curse technique, like his innate ability, is Shrine, and that the domain expansion becomes Malevolent Shrine. So I guess this means that like Sukuna's curse technique is the ability to have other curse techniques, right? I mean, I'm sure we'll get the explanation soon, and by soon I mean maybe in the next 2 months. But still pretty cool that he just didn't say Cleaver Dismantle. Back to the fight, we see Meimei's crows nearing Sukuna, but they got destroyed immediately. Meimei, who was looking at it from afar, realizes that her crows won't work on the likes of Gojo, Kenjaku, and Sukuna, but Meimei says that she's managed to distract Sukuna for a bit, and now everything's up to Higuruma. Higuruma's huge hammer destroys Sukuna's stance, and Yuji crushes the debris into small pieces and sends them flying towards Sukuna. And Higuruma manages to bind Sukuna's weapon. So yeah, amazing teamwork here and surprisingly effective. We're also seeing Yuji like throw Gatling punches, breaking all of the small pieces of debris. It's a really cool sequence. Just showing how far Yuji has come, I guess. But that's just the beginning, because Yuji lands a heavy punch on Sukuna, and Sukuna feels his entire body shaking for a moment and wonders what that was. So yeah, pretty crazy sequence. Yuji landing this punch on Sukuna, and he is visibly shaken and he's confused. Not shaken like fear, but like Yuji caused tremors throughout Sukuna from just blocking his punch. And he needed like 3 hands to stop Yuji's punch. So yeah, something is for sure happened to Yuji that's given him a power up over this 1 month time skip. And I made a video dedicated to talking about what it could be. Could be something to do with the Cursed Womb death paintings. Maybe he consumed them, since technically they're kind of like his step brothers, I guess, the way that Choso is. He was also doing some kind of training with Kusakabe where it's implied that he can swap souls or just swap bodies or something, which I don't think this has to do with it, but it probably has something to do with what he's going to do in the trial to guarantee Sukuna the death penalty. I know, it's like, that doesn't make sense. I know, but it's got to go somewhere, right? Higuruma opens his domain, deadly sentencing against Sukuna. Yuji tells Higuruma that they can use the trail from the time they both fought and use it against Sukuna. They can add Sukuna as a co-defendant of mass murder in Shibuya and sentence Sukuna. Higuruma begins the trial against Yuji and Sukuna, and Judge Man says Yuji is suspected of mass murder in Shibuya, but Higuruma defends, saying Yuji didn't kill anyone. His confession was due to a sense of responsibility, but the true criminal is ... And unfortunately a break next week. So first of all, why doesn't Judge Man just remember that he already put Yuji on trial and he cleared him of it? He didn't technically clear him of it, but he had to have known what had happened with the conclusion of the fight between him and Higuruma. He gave Higuruma the executioner's sword, but obviously Higuruma didn't go through with it. So shouldn't Judge Man already know that, and already know that Sukuna was the one who committed the mass murder in Shibuya? But before I go into any more of that stuff, I'm confused as to why Sukuna is bound by this. Why doesn't he just activate his own domain expansion and just cancel it out, you know? I mean, he's obviously stronger than Higuruma. Unless because it's like some kind of special curse technique domain expansion thing that it's different? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure this is just like still a domain expansion, even though it is a part of Higuruma's curse technique. The same way that Hikari's domain expansion works. Or maybe Sukuna wants to be in deadly sentencing. But also going back to that, I think that when this was first revealed like 2 years ago, especially when we found out that if you get the death penalty from Judge Man, he will give Higuruma the executioner's sword, which is said to have the power to kill anyone. And I thought like, oh man, could he just use this on Sukuna and kill him? And now we're going to find out. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that simple. I mean, I'm pretty sure Sukuna is going to make it out of deadly sentencing, like alive, but maybe his ability will get confiscated at least. Or it'll have something to do with them freeing Megumi. But I'm going to have to go over this full chapter to get a better understanding of it, because, you know, this is a chapter that we really need to sit down, observe, read a few times, and analyze it. So I'll go over it more once it's released. And if you liked it, guys, please give it a like. And let me know what you think about this in the comments, and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.